Also, this is the type of shit like liberals want to get behind too. Like, you can't make that about Joe Biden. Like saying Kamala Harris is brat. Like that's the kind of shit also plays a role in the minds of like a lot of the youth and a lot of the people that don't like really give a shit about anything but vibes. Dude, and it was shocking to see so many people just being like, yeah, no, those are like clip chimps for the most part. He's just like clipped all the time. But most of the people that hate him are just like right wing or Republican. They hate him because of their politics. You should make a community. It's good for growth. I don't know how to do it. I might just make one of these days. People are saying that Hasan is pissed about Biden dropping out. Wait, what? Bro, I've been dancing. Well, that's the problem with right wingers. You know what I mean? Oh, look at that. Lib Bizzle's back in the community. Coconut Queen all the way. Kamala unburdened by what has been. Now free to win the election. Bizzle coup d'etat achievement unlocked. My friends keep saying Kamala insta loses because too many women don't like women. Yeah, too many women don't like women. That's why Hillary Clinton, which wasn't just a woman, but like an incredibly unlikable woman, literally won the popular vote. Like, come on, guys. What are we talking about here? I think that people that say like, oh, just women hate women, or people just hate women in general and they can't do it are silly. Like, I think it just comes from their own a little bit. Maybe they have that opinion a little bit, but they don't want to say it outright. But yeah, no, I know that there's misogynistic people out there. Most of them already vote for the Republican Party, but this is the moment that the Republicans start chirping about Kamala Harris being a woman and because of that reason is the moment that the Democrats can immediately reframe the conversation and be like, this is not shocking coming from the Republicans who took away women's bodily autonomy, took away women's right to choose reproductive health care measures for themselves that they can take for granted in the Western world. So like, it's the easiest one to have. It's the easiest convo to have. Do you want the Republicans are in a bind in that situation because they literally are locked in to this like abortion situation that they've presented for themselves. But the issue is they want to run away from it, right? They want to run away from the abortion stuff because it's deeply, deeply unpopular. Nobody wants to think about like a blonde, blue-eyed woman in Texas dying as a consequence of an ectopic pregnancy that she couldn't get aborted in time. And yet that is what's happening around the country in places where the Republicans have successfully restricted access to abortion. So like that is massively consequential for this election. Kamala Harris being a woman automatically brings out the forefront and in a way that like Hillary Clinton never could. Beyond that, I hope Kamala Harris doesn't do that like, oh, you don't vote for me, you hate women, okay? That would be the worst possible thing to do. That's like the classic Hillary Clinton supporters doing that. I hope that she doesn't do that. I hope she sticks to the issues because obviously women from a variety of different backgrounds have won elections in North America. You got Moss, you got our girl Claudia in Mexico. Ultimately, and she's Jewish as well in a super Christian, super Catholic country. So like people obviously don't care. At the end of the day, what they care about is like whether you're charismatic or not. At the end of the day, they care about like how you message yourself, what the vibes look like. If the vibes are abysmal like Hillary Clinton, then you know that's gonna that's gonna spell trouble for you. Anyway.
Everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump and his extreme Project 2025 agenda. ABC News White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the latest for us.
Facing unsustainable pressure from his own party, President Joe Biden deciding to exit the race, announcing he will not seek a second term. Calls for him to step aside have been growing since his disastrous debate performance in late June. From the start, the president speaking with a raspy voice, at times stumbling and trailing off, unable to finish his thought.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Even on the issues.
That's disrespect. Come on, he's dead. He's dead already. That's disrespect. I'm just kidding. He deserves it. He deserves it all. Fuck this man. God, I hate him. It's a real monkey's paw situation for him too. Like he was like, he wanted to be president his whole life, and then he finally becomes president, and he's not even coherent, and he's an embarrassment. And they beg him to step aside for like a month. And then he says, only God can judge
you
me.
had a
And
bad
then God
night.
gives him COVID like
But you're-
3 days later.
But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
Many Democrats questioning if Biden had the stamina for a second term.
I have medical doctors travel me everywhere, every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. They don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a
That's
full
what Trump-
physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed.
That's literally what Trump said.
Yes. The answer is
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Biden saying only divine intervention could force him out.
You sure?
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Look, if the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down.
But it wasn't enough to quell concerns. The
Hubris.
Democrats for him to step aside, growing to a steady stream.
I salute President Biden.
Hubris, dog. That's hubris. He said, God, only God can judge me. And God was like, bro, what'd you say? What'd you say? Did you forget that I put you on this earth and I could take you out? Did you forget that I gave Trump COVID 2 weeks prior to the election? Did you forget that I gave COVID to the world? I will, in the most hilarious way, take you out in the same exact way, dude. Oh no, I got the RNC to delete the post. That's crazy. They're such bitches, bro. Or did they block me? Is the RNC research trying to cancel Kamala Harris Lamau? No, they deleted it, huh? Fuck, I can't be retweeting people like this. They're taking advantage of my political instincts.
A diagnosis, reckoning with his political reality. It's the job he'd spent a lifetime working toward, more than a half a century in Washington, earning a reputation as a lawmaker with friends on both sides of the aisle. A man who led with empathy after enduring so many personal tragedies, including the loss of his first wife and their
This is
young
what they
daughter,
deleted.
and later his beloved.
Flashback, Kamala laughed and said, well said, when an attendee at her event mockingly used the term mentally R-worded to attack President Trump. Like, imagine being the Republican Party's opposition research wing, and you're like, wow, Kamala Harris laughed at someone calling Trump mentally R-worded. Are you stupid? You're the Republican Party. What do you mean? Are you marketing for Kamala now? Like, that's precisely what the Republicans say and do. What? Brianna Wu is now on Team Coconut? Yeah, whatever, dude. She's an idiot. Who cares? She was literally doing she was doing the weird thing. The classic, like, oh, Starship Troopers is not a fascist work. She's just so stupid. Who cares? Just let her, bro, let that just go away. No one gives a shit at this point. I think the only people that care about her are people who are just like simply still trying to dunk on her. Bro, Donald Trump got shot, and Brianna Wu, literally the first thing that she did, Donald Trump's body hadn't even hit the floor yet. First thing that dumbass did was post about my old tweet against Tom Cotton, because Tom Cotton was saying, like, as a sitting senator, he was saying, like, we should protesters. So I quote retweeted it with a meme, and she posted that meme and immediately said, it's too early to tell what the shooter's ideology is, but I'm immediately going to blame Hasan for it anyway. And even her own fan base was like, bro, what are you saying? Like, what the are you talking about? Look at the tweet that you screenshotted. In the tweet that you screenshotted, you're talking about a Republican sitting senator actively demanding to protesters. And Hasan is the worst person here. There were people being like, I don't even like Hasan. And you're out of your mind here. She's just a pathetic destiny orbiter. And that's it. There's nothing else. Desperately looking to suckle on my teat.
all the concerns that they have raised about Joe Biden, and as well as his cognitive ability and all the rest. Will that trickle down ticket to some Democrats, some in some key races like Sherrod Brown of Ohio, who had pushed for Joe Biden to step aside, yet to support Kamala Harris at this moment. So it remains to be seen how quickly the rest of the party gets behind Kamala Harris. But at the moment, we are hearing from a lot of Democrats who are simply relieved, Wolf, that this episode about Joe Biden being at the top of the ticket is behind them as they grapple with this next chapter in this historic ride. Wolf.
All right, interesting. Mano, thank you very, very much. I want to bring in Jeff Zeleny right now. Jeff, an urgent effort clearly is underway right now across the Democratic Party to rally behind Vice President Kamala Harris. So what are you hearing?
Well, if it absolutely is, really minute by minute, telephone calls are being made from the vice president to lawmakers and other officials trying to secure their support for the nomination. We've really seen just a dramatic movement here in the last several hours. Let's look at the Clintons, for example. Both former President Bill Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton praised Joe Biden, but in the same statement just a little earlier today, they also said they fully support Kamala Harris. Barack Obama has taken a different approach to this. He put out a statement earlier saying that he, of course, praises Joe Biden, and that's what the statement was about, really talking about his effort to get out of the race and his selfless act, but also leaving open the question of who he would support. Talking to his advisors, I am told that he is staying out of this for now and wants to play a unifying role at the end of this, much like he did in the 2020 primary campaign. That's being criticized by some, but this is the approach he has taken.
Yeah, unifying against Bernie.
Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi, she also has not weighed in. So, look, this process is moving, but there is no doubt no one has stepped up to run against her, and that is also significant. Several hours.
Dude, Obama sucks so bad. Like, I know Democrats love him and shit. God, he's so annoying. He told Joe not to run in 2016, which was, now we know, a bad idea. Okay, he was like, no, step aside for Clinton. And honestly, that one is kind of fair because who would have thought, right? And then in 2020, he made everyone else step aside for Biden because he was terrified of Bernie Sanders. That was a massively consequential move that even someone as stupid as myself could tell you was wrong a mile away. And I did. I have not stopped criticizing the issue with having Biden be the candidate in 2019 and 2020 since 2020. I have not stopped. I've been talking about how he's a one-term president. We're losing our incumbent advantage if he's the guy. What the fuck are we doing? What a stupid decision. That was Barack Obama. And then up until a week ago, he was continuing along with that idiotic decision-making, or at least that like absolutely selfish, self-interested way of operation, and not telling Joe Biden to step aside swiftly. And he's still doing it. He's like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to be the unifying role. I don't know if I'm going to endorse Kamala Harris. It's like, you're so silly, man. You're a silly guy.
Now is the time for her to show that. And every single moment that goes by, they're looking for those statements, people coming out, offering support. I know we're waiting for Democratic leadership, but David and I were talking earlier. I mean, these are, Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, and Schumer. They have to listen to their members. Okay, they have to do a lot of listening today too before they come out and put a stake in the ground. And so this next day or two, everyone understands are going to be really critical.
And yet, David, in this moment, talking to donors, I know Abby has, Van has, Alyssa, we've all been talking. They got what they wanted today. I was talking to one big donor. He said, you would think there would be a sense of celebration.
Sharon Passan, thank you for the 25.
One of them said to me, I'm sick to my stomach.
Gifted subs.
Yeah. Because I have sadness for a guy who can't fulfill what he wanted.
Yeah.
There is this deep sense of sadness.
Aaron, there is a lot of affection and respect for Joe Biden among Democrats. I don't think anybody took great joy in what happened today. I worked with him for several years and was really proud to do that. And it's a sad day. This wasn't an anti-Biden movement. It was a beat Trump movement, and there was a conclusion that they didn't feel the president could do that. It wasn't a reflection on what he's already done. So, it was rough. But in terms of what's going on now, you say, why are these leaders hanging back? And Abby's right. The leaders have to listen to their members. The members they're most interested in listening to are the members who are in these competitive districts, competitive states, and they want to hear from them, and they want to examine how are you going to be affected by that. And for Pelosi, That is obviously a concern, but she's very much focused on what gives us the best chance to beat Donald Trump.
That was the thing, talking to donors today, and I talked to a few of them. These were people who didn't actually, a couple weeks ago, want Kamala Harris on their ticket when they were talking about this. They seem to have all, at least the ones I spoke to, fully accepted it is Kamala Harris, and they're now all in.
Well, I mean, people had to walk around the barn a couple of times and get their heads around it.
Yep.
Kamala Harris has not been a polling dynamo. It's not like she's the most popular, human ever born, and that weighs on people. Look, I want to say something. This is the most consequential decision this party is likely to make in this century. Who do we put up against Donald Trump? It's not an emotional decision. It's a mathematical decision. And nobody understands necessarily, as we said before, there's a lot of variables here. Some of these swing state governors haven't been tested on the national stage. What's the likelihood of a skeleton falling out? Destroys the whole campaign. This is a consequential decision.
Right.
And so right now you got a lot of people rushing in, wanting to support Kamala, rushing to certainty. But tomorrow always comes. And what I love about what Obama did, he stayed back. He said, let's talk it out. Give everybody a chance to make their best case so we can make the best decision. And there's not a more important, whenever Pelosi opens her mouth.
Oh, yeah, here. What's that? April 14, 2020, more than 4 years ago. One truly wild thing that we haven't really talked about is Biden's stated interest in being a single-term president. Like, we're just going to throw away our incumbent advantage because Joe's going to be a vegetable by the end of his presidency. Truly incredible stuff. That's crazy. Who would have thought, dude? Who would have thought? I'm going to repost it and like my own tweet. Fuck it. Who would have thought, bro? What? Are we serious? Like, that's crazy. I'm telling you, dude. It wasn't that wild. It was not that wild of a sentiment to express at the time. Liking your own tweet is the equivalent of a self-suck. Well, I mean, I do that too, so. What is your view on Bernie Sanders? I love Bernie Sanders. I will always love Bernie Sanders. However, he has disappointed me gravely he's disappointed me a lot with the Israel stuff. Post October 7, he took far too long to call for a ceasefire. He used to be the boldest, one of the most bold congresspersons out there across the board on the issue of Israel. And now now he no longer is. And that makes me truly sad. And it's not because the DNC did that to him. He did that to himself. Anyway, having said that, his legacy is still very important. And I think that is something you can't take away from him. And that, for that reason alone, I will forever love that man, even if I get disappointed with him from time to time. Anyway, I can't believe this got 60K likes. AOC and Biden basically cooked AOC and Bernie a little bit by getting them to be like this rider for him. That's why I said I don't think it's a smart decision. And I said it from the jump. I don't think it's a smart decision to be this aggro.
It's a snapshot, and the snapshot yesterday is completely radically different than the snapshot today. Look, whatever happens on a given day, the course is clear. The path is clear for Democrats. We must win Michigan. We must win Wisconsin. We must win Pennsylvania. And by the way, we must win one congressional district, Omaha, too, because it splits its electoral votes. That will determine its electoral votes can decide the presidency. And so we now have a fundamental reset of this campaign, no question about it. Now, I'll just say one other thing on this. The reason that we are losing today is because Donald Trump has consolidated his vote. His base is maxed out, and we Democrats have not consolidated. Why?
Yes.
Because up until several hours ago, we weren't sure.
This isn't copium. He's right.
Top of the ticket. It is vitally important now with this reset that we do the following. Job one.
That's it. That's the line. He's 100% right. He's absolutely right. There are so many likely voters that are tapped out. As a consequence of interest in the race and as a consequence of a fresh new face entering the fray, they absolutely will. They are absolutely votes to win. Joe Biden would have never been able to bring them back.
Lloyd Doggett was the first Democratic lawmaker to actually call on President Biden to step aside. Congressman Doggett is here with me in the studio right now. Thanks very much for coming in.
Great to be with you, Will.
You've become a historic figure, and you were the first Democrat to say Biden should step aside.
Well, it is a historic day, and President Biden made a courageous decision.
Oh, dude, suck me. There were so many goddamn people before this dude. I mean, he was the only elected person doing it, but of course, CNN and mainstream media will never turn around and give props to anybody else. I mean, Dean Phillips deserves more praise. Like Dean Phillips, unironically, I mean, he sucks, but Dean Phillips deserves more praise if you're going to go inside of the Democratic Party. But of course, the person who deserves the most praise is Cenk, Uncle Cenk. For the record, a lot of people are asking like, oh, Kamala Harris this, Kamala Harris that. Like, are you going to vote for her? And I told you I don't know. Part of the reason why I say that is because I don't know what her positions are going to look like. And one of the key positions that I'm interested to see if she actually deviates away in terms of foreign policy is on the issue of Gaza. Kamala Harris has lightly, under the vice presidential position, lightly sidestepped Biden at times, called for a ceasefire before Biden did. These are significant, but I might be simply wish casting. Okay? That matters. Depending on how she moves and which direction she moves in is absolutely going to determine whether I vote for her or not. Personally, obviously, I'm not going to stop you from voting for her if you want to. But if you're asking me what my position is, that's what I care about. I also simultaneously believe that if she continues the right-wing immigration agenda, and on top of that, does some like nutty Zionist you did this, what is this? Stop calling me a Republican law. Yeah. If she just continues along with Biden's foreign policy, which is going to be difficult in general, because how are you going to criticize Biden if Biden is still going in one direction and you want to go in another? The upcoming days will be tricky on that front. So we'll see. Single issue voter, Hasan? No, I'm far from a single issue voter. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Squirrel's not being as charitable about it as you. Yeah, okay, who gives a like, yeah, okay. She's mad at me. Why do you guys care? She'll get over it. It's kind of wild that there's 92,000 people in here and you're like bringing up an anonymous account who I am almost completely in agreement with on every issue, including even Kamala Harris. I'm just holding out to see whether or not she will actually follow through on Joe Biden's agenda to a T. Also, she hates everybody, and sometimes myself as well. But think about what you're doing when you're like, oh, this account on Twitter doesn't like you. Is like crazy. There's a million people that don't like me. Squirrel, on the other hand, is someone who I am in agreement with more times than I'm not. Only if you care more about the drama than the actual news that are happening do you bring up such stupid things. Don't do it in the future. All right, from this afternoon, CBS News. CBS, will you debate VP Harris, Trump? I don't know who I'm going to debate. So far, we haven't determined who's going to be on that side, but I think whoever it is, I'd like to debate. Yeah, sure. YouGov America, snap polling data on Biden's decision to end his presidential campaign. 71% of Americans approved the decision and just 16% disapproved. That includes 70% of Democrats. More in the article, including views on Kamala Harris. There's less consensus over who should be the new Democratic presidential candidate, but 60% of Democrats, Joe Biden, is supporting Vice President Kamala Harris, while only 21% of Democrats support someone else. 19% are unsure. Latest Economist YouGov poll conducted July 13th to 16th found Trump leading Harris 44-39. That was slightly larger than Trump's lead against Biden of 43-41. Donald Trump polls slightly better against Kamala Harris than he does against Joe Biden. This is before Kamala Harris became the nominee. This is before Kamala Harris, hopefully, will start doing campaign ads. This is before Kamala Harris will start running for president. So we'll see what happens. That's why I keep stressing the importance of like ensuring that that there is like clear, coherent messaging. What? Biden shot a video? This is not real.
Americans, I want to take a moment to address some of the hateful you've been talking about me. Many of you have said I am suffering from brain worms or that I have applesauce for brains. Well,
dude, if Biden had this level of mental faculties, he would literally not need to drop out. Like, if he was popping off like this, no one would be demanding he drop out. You know what I mean?
I won't mince words, so here it is. Fuck you. You're all a bunch of faggots. End of quote. Repeat the line. So enjoy President Cackles or President Booty Juice? I really don't give two fucks anymore. Biden out. My fellow Americans.
Down to the F word, dude. Down to the F word. If he said those things, if he said that, he'd be winning every state. You know he would say it too. He's like the Pope. Both Catholic. Both Catholic. Both say the F word. Biden was showing a new internal polling and the numbers were grim. He was not just trailing in all 6 critical swing states, but collapsing in places like Virginia and New Mexico where Democrats had not planned on needing to spend massive resources to win. So one thing to remember is that Biden this was not a coup d'etat. And the reason that Kamala Harris is like not even all that popular at this point is because of Biden. Make no mistake. Biden's selfishness and refusal to drop out of the race until it was far too goddamn late is why the Democrats' starting point is still worse than it should be. So don't let any of these Biden dead enders like turn around and try to chirp at you too. Saturday night decision that ended Biden's re-election campaign. Early Saturday, Biden told senior aides that it was full steam ahead for the campaign, but later that evening, he had changed his mind following a long discussion with his two closest aides. Steve Ricchetti, who had been with Biden since his days in the Senate, drove to see the president at his house on the Delaware shore on Friday. Mike Donilon arrived on Saturday, two men, both of whom had been by Biden's side during key decisions about whether to seek the presidency in 2016 and 2020, sat at a distance from the president, still testing positive for COVID. The funniest is that he still has COVID. Elizabeth Warren is on CNN here. Let's see what Elizabeth Warren has to say.
5 million people have seen their student loan debt canceled, and going after junk fees and these giant corporations that are gouging people at the grocery store and at the gas pump. Biggest climate package in the history of the world, paid for by a 15% minimum corporate tax on these billionaire corporations. So he's got amazing accomplishments, truly transformative. But today is about what Joe Biden did. He gave America a lesson in patriotism. Donald Trump thinks that to be a leader, it's all about himself and preening in front of the cameras and everyone has to bow down to him. Joe Biden reminded us that true patriotism, true leadership is putting the people of the United States of America first. And that's what this president has done. I admire that.
You were quick to endorse Vice President Harris for the Democratic presidential nomination. We know she's been making calls all day, shoring up support among delegates and super delegates such as yourself. Have you spoken with her?
I don't talk about private conversations, but let me do say this about Kamala. She is someone who is ready to step up, to bring our party together, to take on Donald Trump toe to toe, and to win in November. She's ready for that.
If she does end up at the top of the ticket, whom might you want her to consider as her running mate?
You know, I actually want to hear this from the vice president herself. Let her figure out what she wants to sort through this, because Joe Biden treated Vice President Harris like a partner with real respect, someone that he had a working relationship.
Also, this is the type of shit like liberals want to get behind too. Like, you can't make that about Joe Biden. Like saying Kamala Harris is brat. Like, that's the kind of shit also plays a role in the minds of like a lot of the youth and a lot of the people that don't like really give a shit about anything but vibes. Like, I think that all of that like free media that you get, all of the momentum that you get from like having a candidate that's a little bit younger, like it changes the dynamic so much. I think it's a good thing. It'll take some time for the polls to like actually reflect. It's not going to be overnight, but I suspect and this is a very big if the Democratic Party can genuinely reshape the narrative around this election, position it as like, you know, women's reproductive rights were taken away. We're going to get that back. We're going to claw that back. We're going to continue with like bold progressive momentum. Donald Trump wants to do mass deportations of migrants. They're crazy Nazis. Like, are you saying Kamala will actually get memed in the presidency? No. No. In a close race, everything matters though. And this isn't memeing. This is like celebrities backing candidates and stuff openly. I don't think that you would do that for Joe Biden until the very last moment. And maybe not even at all. Joe Manchin can suck my dick.
Engaged in sexual assault. That former prosecutor, Kamala Harris, is going to be the right person to hold Donald Trump accountable. I think she's got it. She's ready to go. She can bring us together. She can take it to Donald Trump, and she can win.
She ran against you and President Biden for president in 2020. Her campaign did not make it very far. Yours lasted months longer than hers. Are you sure that she's ready for this challenge?
Look, She has been vice president for 3.5 years now. She's been on the front lines. She is now battle tested and ready to go. I don't have any doubts about Kamala Harris's ability to win. And more importantly, I don't have any doubts about Kamala Harris's abilities to govern as president of our United States of America.
Senator Elizabeth Warren from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining.
Just after the Biden-Trump debate here on CNN last month, I had this exchange with Vice President Harris.
Yes, there was a slow start, but it was a strong finish. And what became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
but I'm sorry, on substance and policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster. Another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear.
And we have certainly come very far since then. Joining me now, Abby Phillip, David Axelrod, Caitlin Collins, also Van Jones, Alyssa Farr-Griffin, and Jamal Simmons. David, you've been vocal that the President Biden needed to step aside and talk about this historic moment.
You know, Anderson, it was interesting. I was flying to New York, and I got a text saying he's out, and the letter was sent to me, and my first impulse was to feel profound sadness.
I think the tough prosecutor narrative doesn't really work because Trump isn't an innocent black man, pothead, or a single mother. Nah, Americans are dumb as dude. Like, Americans are stupid as bro. They see convict and they're like, nope, I'm writing him off. I'm telling you. That's precisely the reason why when everyone was like, no, dude, Donald Trump getting convicted is actually going to help his chances. I was like, no, it's not. Have you met an American? Like, they literally are they immediately write you off as a human being. Okay. It's not even a joke. It's disgusting. It's gross. But in this situation, it's kind of beneficial for the Democratic Party, at least. Americans also, despite my greater attempts, love cops. Like, they love cops. Oh my God. Policing as an institution is one of the most popular institutions of the nation, even though they are literally the laziest, the absolute consistently worst at their jobs. It is crazy. If fry chefs were as bad at their jobs as cops are on a regular frequency, we would be arresting. There would not be a McDonald's left in the country. Okay. We would abolish the institution. Like, they're just, but having said all of that, despite their glaringly obvious inefficiencies and overall disinterest in conducting their jobs in a normal way, like bare minimum, Americans love cops and they hate criminals. Okay. They hate criminals. Like, they're just like, oh, you've done anything, you've done any crime, I can't look at you in the same way. They literally will be like, they literally will just be like, oh, dude, you're a single mother of 4 children and you stole a loaf of bread. You need the death penalty. That's the energy that goddamn Americans, the goddamn Americans have. Once you are a convict, it takes a lot for you to redeem yourself in the eyes of the broader population. Nope, not except Donald Trump. We're not talking about the MAGA loyalists. They don't give a Donald Trump could film himself doing statutory, and American MAGA cult would still vote for him 100%. They'd be like, no, I do that too. I do that to my daughter's friends all the time, or I wish I could. He just got away with it. Okay. I'm telling you, Donald Trump and his fan base is one thing, but his fan base alone is not going to carry him across the finish line. Okay. He needs moderates. He needs independents. He needs people that normally vote for the Republican Party to go out and vote for him. But unfortunately for him, they see him as too gross. Okay. He's gross as a lot of those people in the margins, on the other hand. If you care about the legal process, Kamala was just granted all the 168 delegates unanimously from North Carolina, state number 2. Yeah. Odds are on a higher voter turnout? No shot. I do not believe that we will have a higher voter turnout this year than last election cycle. The last election cycle was a one-off. It was a COVID election. It was Mickey Mouse rings. Let's be real, dude. It was the bubble ring for Joe Brandon. Okay? We will not have those numbers ever again. It was the COVID ring. Straight up. It just doesn't count. No way. Because mostly it wasn't just COVID, but it was also universal mail. Like, it was too easy for people to vote. Okay? It was far too easy. It was far too easy for people to vote. And God damn it, our politicians hate that shit, okay? They are not fans of that kind of thing. They're like, what? What do you mean? You mean to tell me that poor people, brown people, black people can vote like that? No, we can't do that. Hasan confirms illegal voting and voter fraud. No. Unless you mean like increasing voter turnout is just, it's up. Yeah.
Joe running perspective, he's got to know he's got his back up against the wall, and they've got to do something to change the narrative.
Alyssa, how do you think it's impacting his campaign?
The reality is Trump world has been overconfident. I frankly think the selection of J.D. Vance signaled an overconfidence, not choosing somebody who'd bring in some independents and moderates, more of a doubling down. This is an X factor that, yes, they're ready for it in the case that she's a known quantity, but this short runway actually favors her. The one thing I would predict is this: I think this will get incredibly ugly. You have the issues of race, you have the issues of gender when you have Kamala Harris involved. And I could see a world in which they go way too far on some of those issues and can massively, massively alienate moderate voters.
Something's happening out there. Energy. $30 million raised already for Act Blue. Joteka Eddy, one of the great African-American powerhouses behind the scene, her win with Black Women Sunday call crashed today because so many people were trying to get on that call. There's also something happening on TikTok. Trump owned Twitter. I think Kamala Harris is going to own TikTok. Young people are remixing her dancing. They're remixing some of her moments that we have found like, oh, this is cringy. Young people love it. They're putting "they not like us" under those TikTok memes. They're putting "get information." Something is happening in terms of energy, and I think that would scare the jeebers out of the Trump campaign. The Trump campaign is scared tonight because something is happening now outside their calculations, outside their control. This thing could go outside of the control of the campaigin. There could be a real movement here.
It's always been the case that you had two, unpopular, essentially an incumbent and a quasi.
Worst thing Kamala Harris could do in this moment is try to do that dark Brandon and like lean into the memes, by the way. No, just be your goofy damn self, okay? But also be a little bit more, be a little bit better with your messaging, and just like don't try to make it happen. Don't try to lean into the memes, please. Just you're goofy as hell on your own. I would say dial back the goofy a little bit, There'll still be some goofy but just don't. Oh my God, I hope they don't try to do that. I hope they don't try to lean into that. Please, 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 please. That would be devastating. All of that free marketing gone overnight. Some dumbass right now in Kamala Harris's campaign is already suggesting like, well, let's go out and, let's put coconut trees on the next stage that you go to. You know what I mean? It's like, don't do that. Don't do that. Bad news for you. Vote Dark Brandon. They're definitely going to do that. Do you think she will adapt Biden's 100 days plan, rental cap, eliminate medical debt? I hope so. Because listen, longtime watchers know. I've said a couple things along this re-election. I've said a couple times that Biden, his message is good. He's just the worst messenger. And like the elimination of medical debt and like rent caps, like rent control at the federal level, those are insanely good policies, like that I personally love. I just hated hearing it from him because people kind of hate him for good reason. They hate him. So like sticking to those policies is surefire. Biden embraced the left to hang on. Let's hope she doesn't back off now. Yeah, for sure. Remember when Bernie was speaking? Now that's a person who can articulate the points well. Yeah. Kamala Harris can articulate that well too, by the way. I have no doubt that she could do that too. It's just that like, I don't know. I feel like she's not very battle tested. I am still very much concerned with how she will. Is Twitter now real life? No, it's less real life than it even was before. And it certainly wasn't real life before. Like this here. Is Twitter real life? Let's take a look.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. And
like, that's disability accommodations, right? Wow, it's really up. Can't believe she did that. Fucking owned. You know what I mean? This is a winning message, guys. Hey, banger one. RNC Research. What a banger. RNC Research. Thank you for the banger, okay? No, that's going to move you across the finish line. You know what I mean? Like, let's be real, okay? I think the broad majority of Americans, there are people who are blind in the room. I know. The broad majority of Americans probably get annoyed when they see like trans activists chirp or disability activists chirp. But this is the other side of that equation, okay? This is the other side of that equation. It's like, what's it to you, bro? Let people be accommodating. Like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? What a loser. Like, really? This is your winning message? Hey guys, what's up? I'm a dickhead and I just like, I suck and and I personally think that it's awful to be like accommodating to people. Hell yeah, I'm a playground bully. It's like, bro, you are a dumbass, okay? You're just a bad guy. You have presented, guys, Republicans went from saying Biden is oldish to saying whatever this is. I think we have a really good shot here. No, that's what I said too earlier. Exactly. No, this is verbatim what I said earlier when I showed you James Lindsay's fake. Jason's community already made a dope emote of you. W-Unk. Oh, let's go. Damn. Good take on that video retweeted by Ed Ingermantum. It's so sick that Republicans are going to lose because they can't stop bullying people for 5 minutes. Yeah, no, literally. They just, dude, I'm telling you right now, it's not 2016, man. It's not. There was 4 years of this. There was 4 years of this when Trump was president. And it didn't move the needle for people. People's lives didn't get better. Okay? No. It's so fun. It's awesome. Really simple. Under-discussed reason why Kamala Harris shouldn't be president. No children. And no, becoming a step-parent to older teenagers doesn't count. That's great. That's great. That's awesome. I love that. That was my clip earlier. Let's get in the post lab and get you moving like Jokic and inside and outside Unk. I saw. What is this? Please do this, Unk. What the f is this? Bro, come on, bro. You're going to get me banned. I didn't even see what that was. No answer to question on everyone's minds. No, Kamala Harris does not have a doctorate in foreign affairs. She's the...
is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
Brilliant. Excuse me. All facts. Okay, all facts. No printer. I'm sorry. Can you point me to what's wrong with this statement? Talk your queen. It's illegal to be wrong. Yeah. Oh, I didn't realize that I didn't realize that Republicans get mad when someone is, dumbing down statements for them to understand. Bro, this is so funny. Okay, this is literally like you're just trying to say when you don't know what the f you're talking about and you're just trying to say things that you know that are factually accurate. Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So that basically that's wrong. True. Stephen Miller is melting down on Fox.
People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertising.
This is so funny because, like, this argument, like, who are you making this argument to? To, like, people who are Biden or bust? Is that who? Like, I'm a Biden or buster. I'm an 85-year-old Democratic Party loyalist, okay? I voted for the Democratic Party in every primary, and I voted for the Democratic Party in every general election. I will never stop voting for the Democratic Party. And I also happen to watch Fox News, and I take this Stephen Miller guy who was Donald Trump's immigration czar, okay, very seriously. And I think this bald man, who is a literal Nazi, by the way, I take him very seriously. He's right. He's right. I am mad. I voted for Biden in the primary. I voted. Wait, you literally said you won't. What? You literally said you won't vote for Biden? Oh my God, people do. I'm making a joke, man. I'm not an 85-year-old lifelong Democratic Party voter, dumbass. I'm saying, in this scenario, you have to have, like, who's he talking to? Who's he talking to? He's talking to a hypothetical 85-year-old who's like always voted for the Democratic Party, who's now like, well, I cast my ballot in the primaries for Joe Biden, and I'm really disappointed. I'm really disappointed. My expectations were that Joe Biden would be the president. I care about that sort of thing and not voting for whoever the Democrat is.
And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden.
Oh, this part's really awesome. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. Are you out of money? Can you no longer avoid the ads at the top of the hour? Oh, did you waste all your purse on Joe Biden? Oh, man, that's so... He's like, I want a rerun. It's unfair. Why did they go ahead and change who the candidate is? That's so mad. I'm so mad. Now I have to sit through 3 minutes of ads at the HasanAbi broadcast. Yeah, in the words of Pokemon, if you're a broke boy, just say so, Stephen Miller. Okay? The 3-minute ad break comes for you, though. Unless you get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Thank you, Jacob Johns, for the 5 gifted subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. This is the only timeline where Republicans are unironically riding for Biden. I mean, this was pretty obvious. They were already like behind the scenes trying to lock him in. Democrats just canceled democracy. They threw out an entire primary and used donor extortion to do so, like a third world state. Yo, who is this for, brother? This only works for Bernie or busters. Like a person who actually deviates from the Democratic Party and like represents different interests. Even if you don't believe Bernie Sanders is genuine, which many people do, obviously, like Joe Biden is basically, he has his roots in the Democratic Party. He's a calcified institutionalist. His replacement being made in the hands of the Democratic Party implies that all of his voters will unironically go and excitedly vote for whoever the replacement is. Like this only works to drive a wedge between like people who really wanted Bernie Sanders or a type of person like Bernie Sanders who actually has like different policy prescriptions, like a different agenda. Okay. Did you say this only works for Bernie or busters? Yes. And even then it didn't work. But I'm just saying like the likelihood that someone votes not for whoever the Democratic Party's candidate is after they have voted for Joe Biden is even lower than the likelihood of Bernie voters that will not vote for whoever is the candidate. Major Biden donor John Morgan tells ABC News he won't fundraise for Harris if she's the nominee. Okay. Oh, no. I think they'll be all right. The only reason why the donor voices were significant in this process was because they were reflective of the broader population sentiment towards the Democratic presidential candidate, the likely candidate. They've raised like $50 million in a matter of hours since Biden dropped out. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some naysayers. There's also some dumbasses who are like, yeah, Joe Manchin would be great. We should put him in charge because you're the dumbest person on the planet. God, I hate Joe Manchin so much. Le Whimsical Coconut Lady has raised $5 million from AIPAC, by the way. Listen, Le Whimsical Coconut Lady, and like I said, I don't know what she's going to do in terms of Israel-Palestine, but it is pretty significant for her to have already stated that she was down for a ceasefire far before Joe Biden ever said it, when she was the vice president of Joe Biden, okay? And there was no world where Joe Biden was dropping out or anything. We'll see what happens. I'm not saying that like Kamala Harris is going to deliver a free Palestine or some shit. I'm not saying that at all. Are psychos really trying to promote Manchin now? Nah, just Maddie Iglesias, who's allergic to having good takes. What?
People who are pushing for this to happen. It's kind of like when your grandpa, you got to take the keys. And everybody, you got to take his keys, you got to take his keys. and he's fighting and he's fighting and everybody's so frustrated. And then you finally get the keys back. And then you just cry. Because this is somebody that you love. This is somebody that you care about. This is somebody who was there for you. This is somebody.
Dude, I don't give a like. I mean, I have like an entirely selfish motivation here as well. Like I despise him. I despise this old freak. In spite of the fact that I am obviously brutally honest and will openly recognize when he does good things, going in and participating in a picket line as a seated president, like as a sitting president, is pretty historic. But ultimately, he's a genocidal monster with a really bad track record in the 50 years that he was in American Congress. Like, when I say take the keys away from grandpa, I'm thinking about them on the road, okay? I'm not shedding tears in this situation. Like, I'm thinking about the families that grandpa's going to run over. And this time, it's not even technically just a car. We're talking about a situation. Like, I'm thinking about the families that grandpa's going to run over. And this time, it's not even technically just a car. We're talking about, a nuclear submarine or 10. That's why I kept repeating during the Dianne Feinstein saga. If you trust this person to be a legislator, do you trust them behind the wheel? If you say yes, you have to let them drive. You have to let them drive, okay? And you have to sit in shotgun while they drive you around. No seatbelt. You have to raw dog that shit.
You wouldn't be here without him. And you have to take something from him. Now, this is not, look, this politics is politics. But this is a human moment for one of the great humans in America. This is a huge moment for him, for his family, for all of us who love him, for all of us who wanted him to get across the finish line. But if you're a young person watching this, this is leadership. This is patriotism. This is what it means to put the country first and put the party first.
Shut up. It took him weeks to get here, okay? It took him weeks to get here. Get out of here.
Put the cost first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done, and he's done that for all of us. And so I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be the VP, the non-VP. I don't know anything about politics. I just know that I love this man. I care about this man. It was painful every day to sit up here and talk about him like he's just some problem for the party. Wait till we get to the convention. You're going to see people crying, standing, screaming, cheering. He may not get a chance to talk for 10 minutes. We finally get a chance to put our arm around this guy. He did the right thing for this country.
Bro, he literally, dude, he lodged that thing so far down his throat, he's got tears coming out of his eyes, okay? These are not tears of joy. These are not tears of sadness. These are tears that you involuntarily have when you lodged it. When you lodged it and you can't breathe, it is lodged so far down your throat, you can't breathe no more, okay? These are glazed tears. He's not even... I know I use the term, he's blowing bubbles on it quite a bit, but this is Van Ahegao Jones. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, he's going cross-eyed. Dude, that's crazy. Have some decency, man. Where's your sense of honor? Men used to go to war. What are you doing right now? That is an 800-year-old man on live television on CNN. You woke up this morning and you were like, I'm ready. I'm ready to do the deed. He's crying for Joe Biden. You're a tool, Hasan. Go get run over by a tank in the... Did he noted? Yeah, it's real.
You did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden. I appreciate what he's done, and a lot of people are heartbroken today. Even if it's the right thing, it's still just horrible.
Is it? Is it? Yeah. Are you Hunter Biden? Like, what's happening? Who's the only people that are devastated are like Jill Biden and Hunter Biden. Here's what Naomi Biden posted, by the way. Statement from Hunter Biden. For my entire life, I've looked at my dad in awe. How could he suffer so much heartache and yet give so much of whatever remained of his heart to others? Like, bro, chill, okay? He was a center-right Democrat for 50 years. He wrote the crime bill, okay? He is responsible for so many black and brown men being locked up in prison permanently. Give me a break, which is ironic because he's also a massive advocate alongside Strom Thurmond, segregationist white supremacist Strom Thurmond, in the sentencing disparity for crack cocaine as opposed to just regular cocaine. Damn, they got ethered off the platform, and this is their real account too. Maybe you shouldn't say some unhinged from the chat. Anyway, I'm probably late, but did you see AOC endorse Kamala? Remember that live stream law? AOC's a career is like the rest of them. No, I think AOC made her. Motivations very clear, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Yeah, she just wants whoever the Democrat is to win. She's a Democrat through and through. I don't think that she should have leaned on the Biden stuff that hard. I think that was a mistake. But overall, I don't think she was like, what careerist? She's a bad careerist if she is a careerist. Anyway, not only in the policies he passed, but the individual lives he's touched. Oh my God. Over a lifetime, I've witnessed him absorb the pain of countless everyday Americans who have given. He's given his personal phone number to because he's old and he forgot that he shouldn't be doing that, because he wanted them to call him when they were hurting, when their last hopes were slipping through their hands. That unconditional love has been his North Star as president and as a parent. He is unique in public life today in that there's no distance between Joe Biden, the man, and Joe Biden, the public servant of the last 54 years. I'm so lucky every night I get to tell him I love him and to thank him. I ask all Americans to join me tonight in doing the same and demanding that Mr. President, my dad, pardons me before he leaves office. Why aren't you talking about all the Let's Go Brandon shirts that will now sit in Hogs closets? I mean, I have one. I wear it still. He's still the president for now, so I think people can still wear it. I'm gonna keep wearing it. My Let's Go Brandon shirt. Biden bows out. Late reversal of Penn's race for White House as president endorses Harris the lead ticket. That's it. So anyway, we were talking about Brandon and Hunter Biden, and as far as like Brandon's Zionist publications losing their minds after Biden's endorsement, what has Kamala Harris said about Israel? While it is unclear if other senior Democrats would challenge Harris, Israel could be bracing for a change in its U.S. ties. Oh man, oh baby. Don't threaten me with a good time, dude. Don't do it. Don't do it. While it is United States Vice President Kamala Harris could be set to become the 47th U.S. president after Joe Biden. In his statement, Biden offers his full support and endorsement for Harris. While it is unclear whether other senior Democrats would challenge Harris for the party's nomination, Harris's rhetoric towards Israel, especially since October 7th of the war in Gaza, has towed the same line as President Biden. Harris has been more vocal in calling out the humanitarian catastrophe that has unfolded in Gaza through the 9-month war, saying in early March that people in Gaza are starving. Dude, it's like, it's amazing. It's amazing to see like people panic because they're like, well, she said that people in Gaza are starving, which is objectively true. Like, arguing that Palestinian suffering in Gaza must end through the increase of food shipments and a 6-week ceasefire coupled with a hostage deal. Bro, you're a villain, okay? Jerusalem Post. Whoever writing this article is so villain coded, okay? You're literally just a villain. Like, this is not like a good person writing this article, okay? You cannot be a good person. I know I usually stay away from good-bad dynamics when talking about politics, right? Like, we're all product of our own material circumstances, our material conditions, but like, you are a bad guy. There is no other way to describe writing this, okay? Arguing that Palestinian suffering in Gaza must end through the increase of food shipments and a 6-week ceasefire coupled with the hostage deal, the vice president stated that the conditions are inhuman and our common humanity compels us to act. As U.S. President Joe Biden said, the U.S. is committed to get more life-saving assistance to innocent Palestinians in need urgently. Harris also called on Israel to do more to ensure delivery of aid, including the opening of additional land crossings into Gaza, adding that there can be no excuse in this regard. In April, Harris met with the families of American Israeli hostages held in Gaza. The vice president underscored that President Biden and she have no prior priority than uniting the hostages with their loved ones. Later in that same month, in a phone conversation with Isaac Herzog, Harris reassured him that the administration's commitment to Israel's security, including international efforts to ensure Israel can defend itself against Iran and its proxies. Kamala on two-state solution. Short answer is yes. Not good. Not good, folks. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference back in February, firmly call for a two-state solution to answer to Israeli and Palestinian peace and security on the global stage. Well, the ICJ had a decision on that recently, Jerusalem Post. Just something to consider. The ICJ has also basically stated that 67 boundaries must be held to because Israel is unjustifiably occupying the West Bank and East Jerusalem. We'll look at the hog cope in a second. The short answer is yes, Harris said when questioned whether such a solution is achievable. I do believe it, but we must put the discussion in context. Starting with October 7, Hamas committed a terrorist attack that was slaughtering over 1,200 Israelis, innocent people, many of them young people who were attending a concert. Women were horribly tortured, rape being used as a tool of war. It's important that we remember what that was. Harris went on to say, understanding Israel has a right to defend itself, how it does still matters. Okay. This article is not featuring some of the moments where she's sidestepped away from Biden by leaking to Politico and other places that she was like actually very upset with even the way that the Biden administration was dealing with Israel, leaking. But beyond that, this is interesting. I didn't even know this, by the way. This is new for me as well. So shouts out to Arachnokami for posting this. It's not, it's not usual for my political savant status to be shooketh by someone who is more knowledgeable on something like this. This is something that's like immediately in my wheelhouse normally. But when she was running for president in 2019, Harris voted against the bill to send extra weapons to Israel. She was one of only 22 Democratic senators to do so. Doesn't mean much, of course, but I doubt Biden would have done the same. Before running in early 2018, she voted against a Republican-led bill to weaken Dodd-Frank bank regulations. The bill was lobbied for by the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank. 17 Democratic senators voted for it. So the thing is, Kamala Harris, when she was a California senator, was actually unlike other California senators. I will say this. California senators historically are fucking annoying, okay? They are awful. They are some of the worst, most conservative institutionalists out there, right? California politicians in general. Gavin Newsom, California governor, very much a neoliberal. Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi. These are like establishment Democrats that are massive institutionalists, right? And they oftentimes never put their name out there in any meaningful capacity. Whereas, and Adam Schiff will be the same as well. However, when Kamala Harris was there, she actually was like pro Medicare for all. Now, this doesn't mean anything because she was she wasn't center left. If you look at just her track record, if you didn't know anything about American politics, let's say, and then you simply looked at her track record and you looked at her actual, you actually looked at her votes on legislation, she was, because I remember when she was going up against Bernie Sanders, they would put this up and I thought it was really funny. She was more progressive than Bernie Sanders even with her legislation. Now, the way that they calculate that is not exactly great. I think Bernie was losing on some like gun related stuff, like losing some points on progressive legislation. But yeah, that's real. That's 100% real. And that doesn't mean anything. Hold on. I'm not saying I'm on the Kamala train or anything like that. Okay. What I'm saying is Democrats, when they do not have control over the House or control over the Senate or control over the White House, will literally pop off sometimes. Like they're fucking Marxist-Leninists, like they're Maoist third worldists, like they're fucking advocating for J.D. Pond style permanent first world genocide. Having said that, California Democrats don't usually do that, even when they have no power. Kamala Harris, however, did do that. So at least for her, because she had ambitions for, a higher office later down the line, she personally saw that as a good way to run. So she ran on that track record in the 2019 primaries. However, do I believe that she is legitimate in terms of like Medicare for all, in terms of her support for Medicare for all? Here it is. She ran in the primaries as a pro Medicare for all candidate. That's a bit of a stretch, Lola. No, I don't think she is. Guys, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. In the spring, the White House decided Kamala Harris would be the most senior person in the U.S. government to start to express this forced empathy with the suffering Palestinians of Gaza. The war in Gaza has really accentuated the cold, hard fact that the U.S. policy towards Israel is a firmly bipartisan one, says Jeremy Scale. He says that Kamala Harris would be the most senior person in the U.S. government to start this express forced empathy for the suffering Palestinians of Gaza. Yes. So the fact that I don't think she is like a progressive, ideologically minded, progressive, loyal soldier, right? I don't believe that at all. Having said that, however, she, at the very least, unlike Joe Biden, does have a track record of at least running as a progressive, showcasing her legislative bona fides as progressive. I didn't even know about the Israel thing. That is actually really interesting to me. Like, that's kind of crazy. Kamala Harris voted against a bill to send extra weapons to Israel. That's genuinely interesting. Yeah, this is pretty funny. This is an astonishing admission of weakness. Yeah, demanding that you want your money back is so funny. DNC is secretly recruiting Joe Manchin to throw a head-to-head tune-up primary for Kamala Harris. Heard it here first. That's actually an interesting take on the Joe Manchin shit. A tune-up fight is not wrong. I mean, I think Joe Manchin is a fucking idiot, and I'm sure that there's like actual legitimate dumbasses that do think he'd be great. But presenting it as a tune-up primary, actually, that's an interesting perspective. I'm not sure if I agree with it fully, but I am more on board with that than like the assumption that like there's legitimate momentum behind Joe Manchin. Who actually likes him? No, like that's why he's saying it's a tune-up primary. A tune-up fight is when your prize fighter loses a fight and loses confidence, and in order to regain confidence, you do a tune-up fight. You put like a really fucking bad fighter against them, and he beats the shit out of that bad fighter, so he gains some of that confidence back. Joe Manchin would be a good tune-up fight because he's got no support, no base. He's not even a real fucking Democrat. He literally left the party. He can suck my cock. I hate him. I hate him so much. Anyway, that could be interesting. I don't know if it's 100%, but okay. Oh, this was another reason, by the way. Biden was bracing for Pelosi to go public this week, as I told you. Remember, I told you if Biden doesn't drop out by the end of this weekend, Democrats were going to get ugly and they were going to get public. And that's precisely what Nancy Pelosi, I suspect, communicated to Joe Biden, or at least he started recognizing that that was going to happen. And that would have been real fucking dirty. And I don't think you want that. I don't think you want that on your legacy. If you care about your image, if you care about your legacy, you don't want fucking Nancy Pelosi, like a lifelong Democrat who's been by your side every step of the way, to just come out and boldly be like, you're selfish. Yeah, no, I saw the fucking Manchin thing. Yeah. How pissed do you think Joe is going to be tomorrow when he wakes up and finds out he's not running anymore? Probably real upset. Nancy made clear that they could do this the easy way or the hard way. It was about to be the hard way. Yeah. That Israel bill is interesting. I mean, the timing of it is when she's posturing. She's angling to be like a progressive person running against Bernard Sanders. But it's still actually kind of, I think it's still courageous to put your name on an anti-Israel bill ever in Congress. So I didn't even know that, but who knows what happens? Who knows what happens with her, with the way that she conducts herself in terms of like dealing with Israel. I don't know. I'm not saying I know. I'm not saying she's going to be pro-Palestinian at all. I'm simply stating that there are at least some, given the limitations, given the restrictions that you have as a given the limitations and the restrictions that you have as a vice president to a president, she has actually sidestepped the Joe Biden administration before on the issue of Palestine a little bit, lightly. I went away for 30 minutes and then all of a sudden you're a Kamala stan? No, I'm definitely not a Kamala stan. All right, we covered John Fetterman. Hillary Clinton telling donors to stick with President Biden. She's never wrong. I dunked on that. Here's some updates on fundraising.
Exactly, David. Vice President Kamala Harris is already full steam ahead. We're learning that in just these last few hours, she's been working to shore up support, making calls to Democratic leaders, party leaders, and members of Congress. Now, Vice President Harris, she's already been this administration's leading voice when it comes to these issues that are central to this election, like immigration and abortion. And David, if she does become the nominee, this would be historic. She would be the first Black woman and the first Asian American. She's also already been in critical meetings with President Biden throughout her vice presidency. And this week, she is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And as you say, David, she is full steam ahead. She is already fundraising off of this announcement. She says she will do everything in her power to unite the Democratic Party and defeat Donald Trump. Harris is clearly already hitting the ground running. David?
And Selena, in the meantime, I know you're there in Rehoboth Beach. Any indication from the White House, from the Biden campaign, what was the Biden campaign, as to when they think the president will make the trip back to Washington, D.C., back to the White House, and when we might perhaps hear him address the nation?
Well, David, I am learning from a senior administration source that the president is expected to address the nation sometime later this week, not in the coming days. I'm told later in the week. And we did hear from the president's doctor today. He said he is still isolating, but his symptoms are improving significantly. So that is a step up from what we heard the day before when the doctor said he still had some hoarseness and a
Someone said now is in 40 mil. Now she's fucking, dude, holy shit. 40 bands, 40 mil, 40 fucking mil. It's been like 6 hours, man. That's crazy. Is it actually? Are you guys fucking with me? 40 M's, not bands. I know. She could go band for, yeah, dude. No, actually. More than that? What the? They fucking hated Biden. Like, and by they, I mean like everybody. That's crazy. As of 9 p.m. Eastern time, grassroots supporters have raised $46.7 million through Act Blue following Vice President Kamala Harris's launch. This has been the biggest fundraising day of the 2024 election cycle. Small donors are fired up and ready to take on this election. This isn't even the money faucet yet. Like, people are talking about AIPAC and shit. This isn't even the fucking money faucet that comes in. Like, this is just straight up people being like, oh, I'm invested in the election cycle. They have to compete with 60 billionaires funding Trump. No, I know. Trump has the billionaire vote on lock for sure. Oh, by the way, the funniest part is like you guys were saying Kamala Harris got $5 million from AIPAC, and it's literally fucking Biden's money. Harris's Israel lobby total pre-Biden is $182,000. Chatters in the chat being like Kamala Harris got directly $5 million from AIPAC. It's not even a headline reader at that point. It's just like, I don't know. It's at 52 million. Dude, this will go hard on baby leftist TikTok dissenter content. You know it. Oh, I know. Someone was trying to fucking yell at me on TikTok because they like didn't understand what I was saying about Cody Ko. They were claiming that I was saying like Cody Ko is rehabilitated or some shit. I was like, you missed it. Like, you missed the point so widely. Like, I was saying, in order for Cody Ko to even fucking start the conversation of rehabilitation, so he needs to take accountability and atonement. Like, there's no rehabilitation. There's no rehabilitative justice before someone takes accountability. And he certainly hasn't. That was a massive point that I stressed. It's just so much of my, that's not what that video said. Yeah, the point, I'm not even going to fucking get into it, please. And also don't like go there and fucking, you know, try to find the TikTok or anything. No, it was a disingenuous framing of my statement. Okay. Do not fucking link it. Do not go there. Don't fucking drama bait. I should have never even brought it up. But anyone that thinks that I'm like, anyone that thinks that like, that anyone that tries to even act like I was even remotely like on his side on this issue is just either grossly misunderstanding the point or just trying to fucking farm. Hattie coming out hot on firing all cylinders. Let's see.
She wants to ban plastic straws. I love my plastic straw. I hate those paper straws. Anyway, she wants to ban.
Bro, I'm sorry. They're so cooked. They have to find new shit. And if all the new shit is just like she's black, she's a woman, she's Indian, and like she had sex with people and she slept her way to the top, if that's all they got, people are going to be like, dude, what are you saying? Like, you have to remember something really important. We have a false understanding of how like the broader Republican base of support operates because we're online. And when we're online, we only see the Nazis. Okay. We only see the fucking Hitlerian people. We only see the Groyper accounts. It's like Groyper rapist 1488 said Kamala Harris's skull actually demonstrates that she has like a higher proclivity to servitude or whatever. Like that's not like no one in fucking Western Pennsylvania is thinking like that. Okay. That's just one fucking guy who literally lives in like Dime Square posting that shit and has like a Patreon subscription to every fucking like Red Scare adjacent podcast. That's not a real person. Okay. That's a freak. That freak walks outside, sees the sunlight and perishes. Okay. So that's something you need to remember. Like the conceptual Lindy or conceptual James style people who are like, Kamala Harris is actually a Satanist Marxist. Like, no, man. Like people don't see it like that. Okay. People don't operate like that. So if these guys are fucking hitting this line and the only thing they got is like straw and then like, oh, she's Indian, she's a black woman or whatever the fuck, I promise you that that narrative will not be as important as you think it is. We have the capacity to place a lot of emphasis on shit like that when we're online and we get like mad and we're like, oh, but every American is like sexist and stuff. No, there's fucking sexism, there's misogyny, and then there's like, why doesn't she have children? She is a broodmare of my fetish. Like there's differences there. There's like normal sexism, and then there's the shit that you see online. Okay? The normal sexism is like, oh yeah, she's a woman. If she's gonna be on her period, how the fuck do we how can we have a woman on her period be the president? They're emotional. Like that's regular sexism. Still inappropriate, still unacceptable, but that's just regular sexism. Okay? The way you deal with that is by immediately recentering the conversation to how incredibly emotional and incredibly irrational Donald Trump has been, despite not having a pussy. Okay? That's number one. Number two, the way you deal with that is by being like, well, of course, here they go again. The fucking party that literally wants to murder women for wanting to get a fucking routine health procedure is over here chirping about women. Just keep hammering the point about how the Republican Party, there's people in the Republican Party that want to ban IVF. There's people in the Republican Party that have openly advocated to ban abortion. They call it murder. Do you get it? So Kamala automatically, on abortion being incredibly consequential in this election cycle, Kamala Harris, being a woman, automatically centers the conversation on that issue because she's a woman. So Republicans that recognize that they need to be more moderate in terms of how they approach the subject matter of women's rights this time around, because they're suffering electoral consequences for taking away women's bodily autonomy in many states, even in red states, cannot go above and beyond in the way that they shit on women, okay? Abortion is murder, though, regardless of your opinion. Oh, I can't believe you banned that guy. He's stating facts. Dude, I can't believe you banned that first-time chatter. We need to let free discourse fly in here. We got to unban that guy. Please, Lake McGroove. Please unban him. Because he's right. Abortion is murder, except some murders are fucking totally fine as long as we recognize that it destroys our election chances, which is why everyone that said abortion is murder immediately were like, but some murder is fine, like if it's a product of incest or rape. And then other states were like, no, actually, that kind of murder is not fine either. And then some were even like, well, murder is not all right in our state, but if you want to murder your child, you can just fly over to California and then you can murder your child there. So maybe it's not murder. What do you mean abortion is murder? The reason why you're bringing up murder in that equation is because you're saying it's unacceptable at every level. Okay? It's so fucking stupid. How are we still doing this? Oh, abortion is murder, except Trump said murder is a states' rights issue. Is that what you're saying? If libtards want to murder their babies, they can do so if they want to do so. Is that what it is? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Your position is standalone, is unique. It is actually it's in the minority. Like it's in the margins, okay? There's a minuscule percentage of people that chirp a lot, but a minuscule percentage of people nonetheless that consider what you're saying. You don't even consider what you're saying to be true. Why are you letting this troll trigger you? I'm not. Do I come across as triggered? I literally unbanned him. The reason why I wanted to address that is because it's a very common talking point and it's very easily addressed. And the reason why I addressed that very common talking point with very easy retorts is so that you can use that next time someone comes up to you and says some dumb shit. Because if you're even a little bit politically minded, you're gonna have that conversation with some fucking idiots. Not triggered, but like, we know he's an idiot. I know, brother, but it's not for you, maybe. But it's for the 57,386 other people that are in the chat alongside you, some of which may have never thought about addressing that talking point easily in that same way. Are they just basically coronating Kamala? Yes. It's anti-democratic, chat. It's really fucked up. I hate it. They did a coup on my president, on my big, beautiful president. They did a coup
Run for re-election. Can Dems come together behind Kamala? For up-to-the-minute reports, stay with Fox News Channel.
Right now, you hold in your lungs the secret to sustainable weight loss. With just one breath, Lumen tells you what you're currently burning for.
What the fuck?